Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy Kaziel. Listen, we gotta have a conversation about this whole Chrono Odyssey situation. I just want to start off by saying the footage that you're gonna be looking at here is from a playtest of Vindictus Defying Fate. I'm just gonna be playing that in the background because unfortunately my footage for Chrono Odyssey got corrupted. So I won't be able to plug in my own footage, and I'm not really a fan of plugging in other people's footage. So I'm just gonna forego that altogether. But to be honest, Chrono Odyssey looks like trash usually. It's not awful, but it's not really great anyway, so this is probably something better to look at. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive right into the topic at hand. I'm seeing a lot of different types of discussions going around in regards to the beta, and I think I just kind of want to share my thoughts, and I feel like clear up some of the misunderstandings or misinterpretations about how we're supposed to be going about handling the evaluation of a beta test, for example. But yeah, so let me just go ahead and get right into it. I'm gonna try and make this a short one. Basically, the playtest was not good, bro. The beta was not good. It was not a good beta. Super poorly unoptimized. UI was pretty rough around the edges. A lot of players were struggling to find certain things, that kind of thing. So, long story short, the game is just rough around the edges in general. Combat was kind of janky. Maybe it's the netcode that was kind of forcing some attacks to not register, or certain like dodge animations or block animations, parrying, things like that, which as a game that's relying on that type of thing, it's going to essentially, kind of dampen the experience quite a bit. But that's kind of like the least of my issues with the game, because my most pressing issue is the fact that the game that we got in terms of the beta was nothing similar or close to the trailers that we got for the game. What we saw in trailers was smooth, fluid, graphically on point. Lighting was great. And then you get into the beta, and it's nothing like that. It's like we were watching cutscenes versus, getting actual gameplay from a game in like 2015 or before. Now, I know a lot of people are saying like, oh, we got an old build and yada, yada, yada. But truth be told, that don't really matter, right? One of the things that I mainly wanted to address in terms of this whole beta situation is the fact that I let people know I only played about 3-4 hours of the beta before I dropped it. And a lot of people are suggesting that because of the amount of time that I put into the beta, I don't have a valid opinion or the ability to make a valid assessment on the beta. So one thing I just kind of want to address when it comes to that, you don't need to spend the entirety of the beta's duration playing it to have an accurate assessment of the systems in that beta. That's the whole point of the beta. It's only open for 2 days, all right? If you play the beta for the entire 2 days, 8 hours a day, I'm happy for you. It sounds like you had a good time. You obviously kept playing it for a reason, but that's not necessary to provide the feedback that the devs were asking for. You don't need to craft the final piece of gear in order to know what the gear crafting system feels like and how they're handling it. You know what I mean? You don't need to unlock your final perk in the skill tree to determine how the skill tree feels and how it feels to progress the skill tree. You can determine that fairly quickly once you start engaging with those systems. So the 3-4 hours that I put into Chrono Odyssey, I was able to get quite a lot done. I was able to experience quite a lot of what the game had to offer, and I was able to determine how I felt about how they were handling those things. Now, granted, a lot of stuff can be fixed up, like the polish of the game, the netcode, things like that. Sure, those things can be fixed. Will they be fixed? That's up to debate. We'll find out. But they can be fixed. But the things that aren't necessarily going to get fixed are the active systems in the game and the way that they're designed, the combat, the way that the combat is designed. All these things are potentially subject to change because, yeah, we're in a beta, but are they likely to change? Not really. So you kind of have an idea of what Chrono Odyssey is going to be like. Just imagine a smoother, more fluid version of it, right? But I suppose I'll be trying to stick around and keep an eye on the game to find out if it does do that. But odds are, like many other examples of games that we've gotten in the past where we see something on a trailer and it gets announced and then the game actually releases a few cuts below the product that we were actually advertised. It happens a lot, right? Especially in the gaming industry. They think that they can get away with, you know, using certain hardware and getting certain performance out, and then they find out that it doesn't work that way on a larger scale, and they gotta tone things down again a bit. So I don't know if I'm super confident that that's gonna happen, but that kind of segues me into the next conversation. For people who don't have a whole lot of experience with betas and what you can expect from a beta, here's a direct comparison of a beta that I played probably about 2 weeks ago, right before the Chrono Odyssey playtest began. I started playing the Vindictus Defying Fate playtest, which I highly recommend you guys follow the game. It is looking incredible, and when it does release, I would imagine it's gonna be pretty dope. Will it be a major game? I don't know. That's also yet to be seen because it also has its own flaws that need to be addressed. But out of all the games that are coming out right now that aren't, you know, just like single player console title type games, you know, adventure games, something that has like a relative focus on multiplayer, it would be this game right here. And again, night and day experience, man, when it comes to the playtest between Chrono Odyssey and Vindictus. As you can see here, Vindictus is smooth. It's fluid. It looks graphically great. Don't get me wrong. There was a couple of performance issues on the day one of the test, and they patched it within a couple hours. I was crashing pretty frequently in the game when the playtest first dropped, and within 3-4 hours, they patched that out, and I had no more performance issues since then. Now, granted, we're talking about Nexon, the company that's, you know, publishing Vindictus versus, I forget who Chrono Odyssey's dev team is, but point is, we're talking about a bigger team. They got more money, bigger budget, all that stuff. So of course they're probably going to make a more polished, you know, product right now. But the overarching point is that Nexon, or, you know, any other dev that has some sort of success in this space, they're not gonna fuck around and release a beta that is far from what you've been advertising this entire time, because it's going to obviously hurt the reception of the game, which it's going to have a lot of people like me talking about it poorly, which is deserved, to be fair. And, you know, players like me might not come back, right? I mean, we'll keep an eye on the game, but if it doesn't make some substantial changes, we're probably not coming back. So it probably would have been wiser, if you do have a better version of the game, to have just let that sit in the cooker and then put that out, because whether or not you want to test server stability and, you know, just little things like that, you don't need that information right now if you're going to risk the reception of the game on a massive scale just to test something like that, or just to test some minor bugs, right? So it just wasn't wise. It doesn't give me a good feeling for the future of the game, especially knowing that it's been in development for 4 to 5 years, and there's some pretty glaring issues with the game, even down to just basic stuff like movement animations, climbing animations, things like that, things that should have probably been on the very, very beginning of their priority list when developing the game. A lot of people feel like the game has mobile game vibes to it, the way that the damage number shows up, just the way that the UI is, and this was a company that previously was known for making mobile games. So take that as you will, I suppose. Overall, I will make a video here shortly going over the Vindictus playtest that I played, just so you guys can, you know, for those of you who didn't get to play it, you get an idea of what it was like and what you can look forward to, and we can talk about some of the things that we want to see adjusted with the game. But beyond that, yeah, the whole Chrono Odyssey situation is pretty fucked. I feel like they weren't entirely genuine with everything that they kind of shared with us, which doesn't exactly leave me super confident about their promise to not make the game pay to win ever. But then again, I guess I wouldn't be too surprised either, because it seems like the developers for this game want to do something different. They want to make a special experience for us MMO players, but just kind of seems like we're getting the same old runaround as usual. So unfortunately, a lot of us are fed up with that. I see a lot of people still defending the game. To me, it just comes off like you just want to play a new MMO, and this beta experience that you got was sufficient that you're not going to sit here and complain and doom post like these other folks. But at the end of the day, I kind of feel like you're showing your complacency with like a half-assed product, when you could say that you're just not being greedy or ungrateful or whatever, having your expectations be too high. But the thing is, they created the expectations that most of the players have. When we watched the Summer Game Fest reveal, when we watched the original trailer reveal, we had a certain expectation of what this game was going to look and feel like. And it does not look nor feel anything like that. So we're basically getting a completely different game than what we were hyped up to play. So you can't really blame anybody for quote-unquote doom posting. I don't really think it's doom posting. I think it's just being real with the experience that we've been given. And again, a lot of people are okay with the experience that they were given. A lot of people play, I mean, I'm not trying to put anybody down, but like a lot of people play bad games, right? Like you could look at any game and be like, wow, that's an objectively bad game, but there's 500 to 1,000 people playing it. So there's this weird thing where both sides are kind of coming at each other. The people that like the game are calling the people that don't like the game doom posters and just saying that they're following content creators and their sentiments. The reality is, everybody's opinion is valid here, but I think that there is a level of realism that could be embraced, where it's like, yeah, I enjoy the game. I think the game is solid enough for what it is, and if it released just a little bit more polished, I would play it every day because I'm okay with this product. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I also think, again, there should be some level of realism that acknowledges that the rest of us that are upset about the game are upset because the game is not delivering what it told us it was going to give us and what it told us that it was going to deliver. Now, I'm not saying that the beta was, promised to be this fully polished product, obviously, right? It's a beta for a reason. But again, being able to test all of the systems and get a good feel for how they're handling the different systems in the game, that's enough to come up with a valid opinion. On top of the fact that the game is completely unpolished, what are we doing? Game does not look good. Game doesn't seem very fun for the vast majority of people. For the people that it is fun for, more power to you. I'm happy for you. I hope you guys get a brand new MMO that you can sink your life into. I have nothing against that. But I just don't want to be misinterpreted, and I don't want people to put, thoughts and sentiments on my perspective, on my behalf, that I don't have, right? I'm not just doom posting the game. I don't just hate on the game. I wanted this game to succeed. I wanted it to do really well. And I was excited to play it every day for 8 hours a day, stream it to you guys. I got all my friends to wishlist the game, got all my friends to try and play test it with me. I was the first person to play test it, and I was the first person to tell them, yeah, go for it, hop on the play test. I'll even play it with you. But just a heads up now, it's incredibly rough around the edges, and I'm not sure if you're going to be a huge fan of it in the state that it's in. And most of them didn't even want to try it. Most of them looked up online real quick just to see what I was talking about, and were like, oh yeah, hell nah. People are talking about running fucking 4090 machines and only getting 50 FPS on like medium to high settings. Crazy talk. And these guys don't got 4090s. So, like, what are we talking about? So anyways, I just kind of wanted to have a quick little brief conversation about it. I tried to keep this short. Seems like it wasn't all that short, but yeah, you guys get the general idea, and stay tuned for more information. I'm going to continue to, I guess, share thoughts on these types of topics a little bit more frequently, because these types of videos are a little bit easier to push out. So just gotta take some time to edit some shit, and then we Gucci. So yeah, follow along, you know what I'm saying? If you like the takes, subscribe, like the video, all that jazz, and yeah, stick around for more base takes. All right, y'all. Take care.